Okay, hopefully I am back. I had to restart my whole feed here. So let's see if I am back live. Let's see, I have to refresh Facebook here. Just checking to see if it's working. No, what is going on? I am refreshing. It says I'm live. There we go. Okay, shows I'm live on Facebook again. All right, hopefully you guys can see me back live here. I see it on mine. Who knows what happens? I don't know what's going on. But so here is the card. I added the linen thread at the bottom. When I got cut off, I had added the little rhinestones on here. Yes, Emily, you're back on here. Chris, you're on here. Good evening from Missouri. Hopefully, I'm going to have to merge these two videos together or something. But from the last project, I was adding the rhinestones when I got cut off, and then I have the linen thread that I added on here. So here's our second project today, featuring the Beauty of the Deep stamp set and our second project for this week's Makers Monday. So hopefully we don't have any more internet problems, knock on wood for here today. All right, our last project today, we are gonna do some fun little easy watercoloring. So no matter what type of stamper you are, anybody can do this watercolor. So for the project, I have a piece of boho blue cardstock, and boho blue is a color I don't use very often. So from the blues that were on this designer series paper, I decided to pull boho blue from there and use it. It is kind of a weird blue for me. I tend to like brighter blues, but we're gonna go with this one. And that's the paper that I chose from that. Yes, Sarah, you gotta love technology. Like I said earlier, I'm the only one that's home, so nobody else is hogging the Wi-Fi, and I don't know. You gotta love technology. It always seems to give me problems right when I'm in the middle of a Facebook Live. No, Barb, not just you. It's that, I know Barb's from Tucson, so it's that Cox cable internet, they have a monopoly here, and so they're the only people that you can use for internet. Okay, we have a piece of basic black cardstock and a piece of watercolor paper. This is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper from the annual catalog. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in my grid paper just to kind of cover my workspace here. And we are gonna use boho blue ink refill to do some watercoloring. So I have just a regular Stampin' Up! Clear block. I like to use it as my watercolor palette. And we're gonna take 2 drops of re-inker. That's all you need for this fun watercolor technique. So we put our 2 drops of color on a clear block. Now, Stampin' Up! Has these things. These are called water painters, aqua painters, and they come in a 3-pack. So this is the one that has a really wide brush on it, and I love it for doing this big kind of back and forth technique. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna get that really wet here. It's filled, so it's just got to get the water down to the bottom. Come on. There we go. And I want to kind of drip some of that water onto the re-inker. So that'll kind of dilute the color a little bit. I don't want it like super dark. I just want that kind of wash on here. So we're going to take our aqua painter and we're just going to paint back and forth to create this really fun background technique. Now, if you want more color, you can go back and pick it up. And now, being here in Arizona, my watercolor paper dries very quickly. Now, depending on where you live, you may need, gotta get my baby wipes. Depending on where you live, your watercolor paper may take a little bit longer to dry. So mine, like I said, instant, basically, it's practically dry already. It will curl, so you can kind of see the paper curls a little bit just because it got wet. But when you glue it down, it won't have any issues. Now with my aqua painter, before I put it away, you can reuse these for different colors. So you can reuse this marker or whatever. So I like to take it and just kind of go back and forth on a scrap piece of paper to kind of get all of the color from the painter off so that I can reuse it for the next color. Emily, yes, this is special paper. This is watercolor paper. It's Fluid 100 watercolor paper. I like it because it's very, very smooth. Some watercolor paper I have tried in the past, it's kind of bumpy. And when I like to watercolor, I like my paper to be very smooth. So that's why I really like this watercolor paper. So mine is dry. That's how quickly it is here. And yeah, it's dry. I can move on. So in PA, when I have done this technique, I will do this the night before and let it dry overnight. Yep, that's how different the climates are. You can just see the East Coast, it'll take a bit to dry. Here in Arizona, where there's no humidity, it is dry already. So before we move on, we're gonna stamp that big coral again, this time using Misty Moonlight. So we have our boho blue, so that's the lighter blue. The Misty Moonlight will be the darker, so you have the coral will stand out on this. So let's get our Misty. I'm gonna bring that grid paper back in just because in case the coral goes off the paper, I don't want it on my stamping surface. So we're just gonna ink it up. Misty Moonlight, another color I don't use as often. I should. I guess I don't use blues very much. But if I do, it's like Azure Afternoon or Blueberry Bushel. All right, so there is our coral. And then while I have, well, I shouldn't have closed this, but while I have this Misty Moonlight out, we're gonna stamp also our sentiment piece. It says, "You're in my heart and prayers." So this is unfortunately one of those cards that we need to have on hand, but we don't like to give out. So there's our sentiment piece. Now I chose black for the background because I wanted the color of the designer series paper to really pop out from the project. I didn't want this matte piece really to take away from the designer series paper, so I chose black. And you can see the paper uncurls itself. It's dry, and once it dries, it uncurls. So you can just glue it right down to your card here. Yep, it's Tucson. Yeah, I'm telling you, when I was in Mexico last week, ooh, that humidity, it was awful. I will take 110 degrees and dry heat over 80 degrees in high humidity any day. It was just, ugh, I did not like it. That's the one thing about the trip I didn't like, is that humidity. I'm just not used to it anymore. I was so happy to get back in the dry. All my clothes felt damp. I hadn't even worn it, and just sitting in my suitcase, everything just felt damp and yucky. So, all right, we have our sentiment that we're adding in the upper right, and then our embellishments, we're gonna add 2 of the medium size embellishments down here in the bottom right corner. The Take Your Pick tool is great for putting on your embellishments. And there we go. And that is our last project today, featuring the beauty of the Deep stamp set. So let me bring in all 3 projects. I know we kind of got a little disconnected there for a minute, but I'm gonna bring in all 3 projects. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite here today. We have our boho blue, our really fun and colorful tie-dye card, and then our melon mambo card. So let me know which one is your favorite in the comments here today. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining me for another week of Makers Monday. I look forward to creating with you again next week. Now don't forget, May's Club Craft and Create deadline to register is this coming Wednesday. I have space in Tucson and the virtual event still open. So if you'd like to come and join me for my last event in Tucson before I move, details on that are in the video description above. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing week. And